You're listening to The Valley Current.
Right. I mean, I have to tell you, I think we're all sort of overbooked in the Zoom world. I think we're all like we're overbooked and we're working longer hours, or we're at least thinking, or online, I guess would be the right way to put it. You know, when you do a commute, you actually get some time out from the commute. Like if you look at the historical way people worked, they typically had a commute. The commute was typically with public transit, like a bus or train. Like for many years when I worked in New York, I took the train into Manhattan, or I rode a bike over the Brooklyn Bridge to Manhattan. But that hour or half hour or whatever it took, it was like thinking time or alone time or you know, time for yourself. And that's gone. There's no commute. You get out of bed, you go to the computer. You grab something to eat, you go back to the computer. You know,
well, that's not my life. That's my lifestyle.
What's your day like? What do you typically?
It hasn't varied for decades. I get up, I get dressed, do the toileting that's necessary. Now, since my wife died, I make my own breakfast.
Right.
I then go to my computer, or since I'm now living alone, I have a lot of housekeeping chores to do. So I may spend time doing some of those chores and not get to my computer till noon or a little before. And that takes a lot of time: washing dishes, preparing meals, getting groceries organized, cleaning the house, doing gardening. You know, there's lots of things here that I have to do.
Right.
And then I spend, on average, I spend from, let's say, 11 until 3 or 4 o'clock on the computer. Yesterday, I had a 2-hour Zoom conversation with my man who's writing my biography and a candidate, a book agent who is very enthusiastic about wanting to be our agent to get this book published. And that was about 2 hours. And then she asked for some information about my first book that I spent today about 2 hours getting the information that she wanted from me. And then there are lots of email messages and technical inquiries, and there's lots of miscellaneous stuff that I deal with on the computer. Today I went for my mail and I got a couple of letters. I didn't get any crank letters today, but I got a letter from somebody somewhere in Oklahoma, I think, who sent me an envelope with 5 pictures of me asking for my autograph.
Wow. That's fan mail.
That's been going on for years.
That's nice.
Not a lot, once every few months.
But you don't worry that they just want your signature to do some identity theft or something, do you?
No, these look like legitimate autograph numbers.
Right. But you can make copies of those photos for your book, so it actually works out, right?
Well, I already have the photos. They simply reproduced them on a card and wanted me to sign the reverse.
Wow. Interesting.
That has happened in the past, but I do get occasional crank letters.
Right.
From religious nuts or people who
right.
simply want to know how to live forever.
Right. Well, because the Vatican has indicted you or something like that, right? Isn't that part of this?
Probably.
Right. So I tried to do something as a gift to you, which I guess failed, but I'm going to try to instigate you accepting the gift, because I saw this book review which I
Well,
sent
it's not
you.
that I won't accept the gift, it's that I can't access it.
No, but I have on my screen right now on my computer.
Why is this book so important?
No, it's not. It's not that it's important. It's more like it's instigated an idea. The book, just for the sake of discussion here, is called "The Evening of Life: The Challenges of Aging and Dying Well."
Well, I read an abstract of it and it sounded like another touchy-feely book about aging.
Right. Exactly.
I'm not interested in that at all.
Okay. Well, just humor me for a second here because I think you have some insights to this topic um, that I think are quite more advanced than most people have. Because I do think you're one of the few people I know that pretty much are living an autonomous life in your 90s compared to what I see in my mom and Lee's mom, both in their 90s and both basically have lost almost all autonomy. And I could tell some really funny stories about that, which is, they they don't have the ability to really get anything done on their own. Like there's nothing that like they can't even begin to do the basic stuff that you're doing because they can't even get out of bed. So they're pretty much bedridden or bedbound, and so they're not really um, able to take care of themselves. So they have to have full-time care, which you don't have. You don't even have part. I don't think you even have part-time care. Do you?
No, I don't.
I
It's
mean,
all a matter of luck.
yeah. I mean, it's more than luck, though, isn't it? When you think
I don't think so. It's a crapshoot.
like a crapshoot around your genes or a crapshoot
Yeah,
around
it's everything.
nutrition.
Health, genes, anything you can think of. It's simply a crapshoot. And I happen to be lucky so far. I don't know how long the luck will last.
Well, but you also surprising to me because I think it's amazing every time I talk to you. You don't talk about, yeah, I'm looking for some live-in help because I anticipate that it would be nice to have somebody else wash the dishes or somebody else do this or somebody else do that. And I'll just spend the money. Like I'll just basically let the last check to the IRS bounce. Like I'll just spend right down to zero. But I'll make sure that the creature comforts of life, whether it's going to the post office or whatever it is, are handled by someone else. So that's the current situation with my mom and with Lee's mom, both in their 90s, both bedridden, both with full nursing care at a very expensive price. I don't even want to tell you what it is. It'll knock your socks off. 7 by 24. And, you know, they're basically, they've got no health span left. They've got lifespan. The work span, of course, is over. Your work span continues. You're writing books, you're writing articles, you're productive. I mean, you're basically probably as productive as you were 20 years ago, maybe even more productive, right?
No, I would say my productivity is about the same, at least productivity is defined to be what I do after I left my lab.
Right. So when you think about like all your writing, you don't even have a secretary to transcribe it. You're typing your own stuff, right?
That's right. And I don't want the hassle of getting full-time help or just help or part-time to do the cleaning of the house, stuff like that, washing dishes, is too much of a hassle to teach people. I don't know whether you've ever gone through this before, but you get somebody in a house who's never been there before, doesn't know what the quirks are and what you like and don't like. Ruth and I had an experience with one attempt to do this many, many years ago, and it failed because although the housekeeper came highly recommended, it was just more time spent teaching and telling her what to do and not to do than we could do it ourselves. And
Right.
so far I'm capable of doing everything that I need to do, certainly at a slower pace, but I'm not objecting to getting help when and if I need it. I don't feel I need it at the moment.
But your kids are not pressing you either. Like kids are often, for example, I think Wally's kids are pretty much pressing him to, and they have got him somebody that lives in his cottage and checks in on him on a daily basis. So they actually have they have a person who lives in his pool house, right?
Yeah, I know.
So
But
the reason,
are they pushing him to go to a nursing home?
no, they're pushing him to make sure that he accepts the help that she gives, and I think he finds it irritating that she invades his privacy.
Sure.
Like that's a big issue,
That's also
right?
that's also part of the problem, correct?
That's a big issue, right?
But
Because like live in
it
health,
is.
you know.
My children are not pressing me to do anything because they know that I'm capable of doing all of the things necessary to keep the house up and to take care of myself.
Right, right.
But that's not going to go on forever.
Right. So you're with me on this whole idea of this book, which I sent to you by Kindle, which you can download onto your computer, just as I've done, and I put it on the screen because it does give you this more instantaneous delivery of knowledge.
You'll have to tell me how to do that.
Right. So you'll go at some point, maybe you'll go to kindle.com, kindle.com, or there's probably a link once you download the book, like once you
Well, there's no button to hit to download the book.
really? Okay, well we have to check. Forward me the email that they sent you. There should be a hot link that says, here's a gift from Jack Russo. He sent you this book called The Evening of Light.
I have that, yeah. And I tried to open it and couldn't. But anyhow.
All right. So but you have an Amazon account, right? Don't you?
Yes.
So inherently you have, based on having an Amazon account, you have the ability to get Kindle books, which is Amazon's brand for digital delivery of books and magazines and newspapers and everything else. And
I don't have Amazon Prime, which is what you might be talking about.
No. Regular old Amazon, same thing. Amazon Prime is just a membership thing that gets you free delivery on a faster basis, but you pay an annual fee for it. Amazon regular is just you order and then you pay for delivery. They essentially want to get people to be committed to them for the free delivery.
All right, I'll try.
So I mean, it's not because of the content of the book as much as it is for the concept of we as Americans don't really think that much, I don't think, about aging in a successful way. I think we just assume it'll work out. Like it's a little bit like retirement planning. Most people don't do it. Most people don't do it well. Most people don't do it at all. Most people just assume somehow some magic fairy will send them $300 a month now for every child that they have, which is kind of like an interesting government benefit. Every American that has a child, I guess, is getting $300 a month automatically, whether they need it or not, which is kind of interesting. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, like when I look at my mom, she was not very prepared for my brother's death. She really expected that he would be her resource and she would die first. She says this often, that she never expected that he would die first at, an age that was essentially 40, roughly 30 something years younger.
I don't think any parent expects a child to die first.
Right. And so there's an inherent belief that your child or children will support you in your older age. And the truth is that's not really happening in America very much anymore for a variety of reasons, right? That's just not generally happening.
I don't know the data. I don't know what the answer to that is.
I mean, I could tell you for a fact that my sister, I was living in Silicon Valley. I got the call from my mother saying that my brother obviously had passed and that she didn't necessarily expect my sister to help because my sister, likes to put her own priorities ahead of other things. The oldest child in the clan is my sister. And sure enough, my sister was not willing to support my mom, which is what generated the move from Silicon Valley to Florida to support my mom, who frankly said, well, I'm just going to die right behind your brother. Like that was her big announcement. Well, that was like an announcement. Glenn, that was an announcement. Now I expect to die any day now because I'm so upset with what happened that he died. My youngest child died. She grieved for a long time. She's still grieving about it. And she's still a little bit shocked that it even happened, even though I would say my brother was never really someone that took care of his health. He smoked a lot, he ate a lot, he drank a lot, he did a lot of, stuff that was stupid, a lot of stuff that was illegal. I mean, the list goes on and on. But
I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but it has been written about extensively, both in scientific articles and in books. And in fact, I knew a woman who was a specialist in this area, and that is the fact that in a vast amount of cases where there are children of both sexes, it is usually and almost always a daughter who is the caregiver to an aging parent and not a son.
Right. Correct.
That has been studied extensively.
Right. And I think that's generally because of the view that the daughter takes on almost, particularly the eldest daughter, if there are multiple daughters, takes on the role of the replacement mom if the mom is failing. Like there's almost like this I don't know how to describe it, like the Mexican household would say this generally applies in Mexico too, which is if the mother is failing, the father expects the daughter to effectively become like the mother in terms of meals and household management and the like. It almost becomes like the son, oldest, youngest, whatever, they're supposed to go out and get jobs, but you're typically a parent yourself with with kids and their grandkids, and then it becomes like an extended family, which is sort of like everyone living together, which is actually rare these days. I think these days the more likely scenario is the older person is shuttled to some sort of assisted living or nursing home. And the problem during COVID, in particular during the pandemic, was it was hard to even get into those places to interview. And B, those places were very worried that you might bring an infection in and that would be more dangerous for their population. I think getting older during COVID is a special problem, right?
Sure.
So in a way, you might say to yourself, we're in kind of a new environment for folks who are aging and maybe even aging well, as they think about options, because they have to be imagining that they're trying to arrange something that may not be easily arrangeable, right?
Well, what impressed you about this book that made you so interested in it? What
Well,
was the concept that?
well, I think the theme in the book is that there's like a series of ethical issues that are wrapped up in how we deal with older people. Like, how do we think about old age? As like, do we look at it as I do, which is that there's a lot of wisdom that's going to waste? Like I've said this before about you, I thought Tony Fauci should have called you up and pulled you into whatever brain trust he pulled together. I still think he should do it for the virus, because you've got, 60 plus years of experience dealing with virology in a way that may lend an insight that he may not have or his team may not have, right? And there
Well,
probably are a few other people too.
What I've been reading in the excerpts of the book that you have sent to me is something that has been studied full time by professionals for the 50 or 60 years I've been in this field. The Gerontological Society of America has 4 sections. I was once president of that organization. I've been a member for 50 years. One of the 4 sections deals with the kinds of things that are written about here. There are thousands of papers written over the years on the subjects in this book. I don't have access to the references that he has listed here by number, but I can tell you that there's enormous literature on all of these aspects, on every aspect of aging that you can think of. And people have spent all of their professional lives studying aspects of aging that I'm sure you haven't even thought of yet.
Right.
So this book is not written by any names that I recognize, not that that's critical, but I'm looking at some of the persons he mentions here. I don't know any of those names either. Do you have access to the reference list?
Yeah, I guess I can probably pull up the bibliography and give you some of the names, but
Well, that would help. I can tell you whether I recognize any of the names, and if they're still alive, I can even put you in touch with them.
Yeah, I mean, that, to me, the sort of bigger question is this.
For example, there's a whole book and a whole bunch of experts on the subject of reminiscences.
Mm-hmm.
You would never think that somebody would devote their life to a study of reminiscences in old age. But I'm telling you, there are. And that gives you some idea of the narrow aspects of aging phenomena that have been studied almost to death. There's a whole field called thanatology, consisting of experts on death. How people's reactions to the death of people either related or unrelated or friends, how they react to death. In fact, there are the periods that occur after death have been studied. I think there are 4 periods. One is grief. The second is acceptance. And the third is something else. And it goes on and on and on. It's just hugely researched.
I mean, when you think about what you're doing right now, it sounds like you're writing your autobiography. Right?
No, it's a biography. I'm not writing it. I'm a consultant to the person who's writing the biography.
And is it just you, or is he putting other geniuses into one book?
No, it's only the first or second drafts of the parts of the text are in process now. And we don't need any third or fourth persons because I know all of the people in the field currently who have been in the field for some significant period of time. And it's only a report of my activities and the impacts they have had or haven't had.
Right. So when you think about the book, how much of it will leverage off of all the videos that you did of that interview process that you have a link for in your email footer? You have a link that you send that provides a link back to those interviews, right?
No, the links in my the link in my current message is simply a paper I just wrote on why no organization in this country with the word aging in its title supports or emphasizes research on the etiology of aging, which is the greatest risk factor for the leading causes of death. But I've never had a link on my letters or my messages that concern myself.
Well, what isn't there a link? I saw a link to the set of videos. There seemed to be like 30 or 40 videos that were done over a period of time. Maybe it's like 10, 12 hours, or is it more? I mean, am I remembering this right?
Well, there is one link that I'm sure I gave you. It is a link to what's called the Web of Stories.
Right, that's it. Exactly.
And that is a collection of interviews by many, many, many people, mostly whose names are well known in various aspects of art, science, creativity of one sort or another. And it's free thinking. It's not really an interview. Questions are not being asked. You just discuss your entire professional life. And I did that over a period of 2 summers in London, which is where the organization is located. And it's a total of about 12 or 15 hours of description of my career.
Right. So shouldn't your author take all that data and get it translated?
Oh, yes. But that's only one tiny fraction of what's available.
Right.
And he has access to all of that. It's all been provided to him. And a lot of more material that has not been discussed. Well, I see immediately here, Aubrey de Grey, number 4.
That's it. You're not reading it.
That immediately tells me this author doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Well, he's gotten a lot of popularity.
Popularity does not equal brilliance in a field.
Right, but he has said some provocative things about people are going to live forever, right? So he gets cited almost to present the case.
Well, but this person is citing him with Michael Ray, who's another nutcase.
In your opinion, yeah, I mean, that's good. But
Not my opinion. I can give you an opinion of the major persons in the field. And number 15 is J.L. Shansky, who is the one who's writing my bio.
Oh, good. So you see, this was useful. You could tell Jay.
He doesn't want to be associated with this book, I can assure you.
Well, he's in it. He's in it now. But look, it does cite Kierkegaard, so that's got to be worth.
Well, you could cite Einstein. There's no law against it.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, this is all nonsense. This person, I mean, I don't see any other. Moody, I know Moody.
Yeah. You know what
But
this brings
this is
back?
all the touchy-feely aspect of aging.
I have to
And
say,
I'm not interested in that. It's what Alex Comfort called graniology, the science of grandmothers.
right.
I'm not interested in that.
Okay. So I will,
Give me the next, do you have the next page? Let me see more.
yeah. No, no, but I have to say you brought back a funny reminiscent for me, if that's the right word. I remember when I was in graduate school in New York, and I had a professor. She was really smart. I'm trying to remember her name. I want to say her name was Marilyn Patel, but I could be wrong. And Professor Patel or Professor Marilyn or whatever her name was she said something like, the way I read books, I look at the footnotes first. And if they're not citing the people that I think they need to cite for a topic, I don't even read
Yeah,
the book. That's the way I
there's
figure it out.
there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
I
Her
understand.
view is if you see the bibliography and the footnotes, it'll tell you everything about whether the person is really
That has done his homework.
right, doing the homework. Right. Exactly. Right.
I mean, all of this is transhumanist temporalities. What the hell is that? Transcending the tragedy
You're too
discourse of
much,
dimension.
you're too much of a scientist, Len.
I'm not a scientist. That's got nothing to do with it. I'm asking reasonable questions.
Right.
This field is, as I've written many times, the second oldest profession
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the same reasons.
I thought the lawyers were the second oldest profession. Are you saying this is the second oldest and the lawyers take?
Well, I don't think that lawyers even were thought about 3,500 years ago when all of this was written down.
Right.
People did write about growing old. People did write about sex and prostitution, I guess. So, yeah. But if you want to include lawyers, they're a distant fifth or sixth, probably.
Okay. Well, that's an improvement. Seriously. I mean, lawyers kind of take it on the cheek, but that's kind of an improvement. But do you
But
think,
look at the title. Look at the titles of some of these references. The enduring self in people with Alzheimer's, getting to the heart of individualized cure. What's it? It's garbage.
so you could say that because you're still in good health in your 90s?
No, I know what Alzheimer's is. Believe me, I've studied it and I know more about it than most people who are not physicians.
Right.
And I probably know more about it by many physicians who don't understand that Alzheimer's disease is not the leading cause of death, a leading cause of death,
Right.
despite the hype. It's an accident that attention is being paid to it as much as it is today. An absolute accident of history, and I could tell you the actual history.
Yeah.
But
What was it? What was the accident?
the accident was that when I decided not to accept the first directorship of the National Institute on Aging, it was then accepted by Bob Butler in 1975.
Okay.
Bob Butler was a psychiatrist who agreed to direct the institute. He's a wonderful guy. He's a good friend of mine. I liked him very much. He visited me here in Sea Ranch.
Uh-huh.
So we were close. But he was a psychiatrist, and one of the major interests of psychiatry at that time, it's the same today, is Alzheimer's disease. And he decided to emphasize Alzheimer's disease research as the director. And that's what caught on. In addition to which, he sanctioned and helped the emergence of the Alzheimer's Disease Association in this country, who copied the March of Dimes and named a celebrity as their spokesperson. The celebrity was the daughter of Rita Hayworth. Rita, you know Rita Hayworth?
Yeah. So they copy from
she was the sex symbol of my day. And
from Jerry
Rita
Lewis.
Hayworth's daughter became the spokesperson for Alzheimer's Disease Association. And they raised lots and lots of money, even to this day, in exaggerating Alzheimer's disease. The exaggeration is even worse because there's something called the International Catalog of Death. It's a listing. Do you know about this? It's a listing of causes of death. Each cause has a number, and the numbers are now in the multiple hundreds, which was a basis for an article that I wrote called "It is illegal to die from natural causes or old age in the United States or in any other developed country in the world." It's actually illegal because the only legal causes of death in this country that can be written on death certificates are the ones found in that document, the International Listing of Causes of Death, which is now going under revision for the 12th time. And however, it is legal to die from electrocution, but you can't die from old age, and you can't die from natural causes, despite reading that in the newspaper in the obituary section almost every day. So that was the basis for my article.
Right. So you're saying that.
Well, there's another aspect that's even that I haven't mentioned yet. In that list, which is not compiled every few years by scientists, it's compiled by statisticians who don't know anything about biology or medicine. And so one year, about 15 years ago, they decided to lump the causes of death attributable to pre-senile dementia and senile dementia. They decided to lump those two in the category called Alzheimer's disease, where they sit to this day. The Alzheimer's Disease Association did cartwheels when they found this out, because that raised the number of people who had Alzheimer's disease by an order of magnitude or more. And that meant big bucks to the Alzheimer's Disease Association. So when you talk about Alzheimer's disease, you also have to understand, I wrote a paper demonstrating that if Alzheimer's disease was solved tomorrow as a cause of death, it would add 19 days onto human life expectation.
Right. The big ones are heart disease and cancer, aren't they? Aren't those the big?
Are cardiovascular disease, stroke, and cancer.
Right. Those are the three big ones.
Yes, but the Alzheimer's Disease Association lied to the public when they, in their advertising and call for money, said that Alzheimer's disease was a leading cause of death. So I wrote to them and I said, what's the basis for that statement? Oh, they said, we mean it's the leading cause of death over the age of 85.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And even that is wrong.
Right.
The diagnosis of cause of death for Alzheimer's disease can only be made at autopsy. Very few, not only Alzheimer's disease patients, but other patients are have autopsies conducted. The number of autopsies conducted in this country and every other developed country in the world is a straight line that goes down like this from about the 1940s or 1950s, almost to zero. The only autopsies done today in this country are done for forensic purposes.
Right, right.
So we don't, the cause of death over the age of 85 or 80, some arbitrary number like that, the cause of death is a black box. It is not known. The causes of death put on death certificate for older people are guesswork. I also did an article on autopsies, and I can tell you that I found only 3 places in the world, one Israel, one in the UK, one in this country, where an institution did more than 10 autopsies in a year so that I could get sufficient data. And all the data came to the conclusion that 40% of the causes of death written on death certificates of people over the age of 80 are wrong.
Wow.
And think about this. Think about the public policy decisions made in this country on leading causes of death.
Right.
It's lunacy.
Right.
And the billions of dollars that are fed into various causes of death in the misbelief that they are in fact major causes of death. Most people, old people, die of multiple pathologies, with both multiple pathologies. So a physician picks one.
Right.
I've had friends of mine who are physicians call me and say, Len, I've got this person in my, a patient of mine who just died. What do I put on the death certificate?
Yeah.
That's how much nonsense there is.
Oh, you mean they want a category like what I have up called the International Classification?
Well, they have to choose something from that list.
Yeah.
That's the only legal number they can put on the certificate.
Right. So in a way, you could say we've got very bad data. You've said this before, and probably
when my mother died in Philadelphia at the age of 106,
right.
The gerontologist at the University of Pennsylvania, 2 women, put on her death certificate the cause of death as
usually it's like pneumonia.
Cognitive failure.
Cognitive failure.
Cognitive failure. I wrote to them and I said, please explain to me the biological pathways that cause death from cognitive failure.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense.
And they, after a lapse of many months, they didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
I put their feet to the fire and I said the truth. I said, I have contacted the 3 leading people on the planet who conduct research on the cause of death in people over the age of 100. And I can tell you that none of them have ever heard of a cause of death attributed to cognitive failure. That got their attention because I named the people who are close friends of mine.
Right.
And I said, you need to change that cause of death on my mother's death certificate because it's wrong. And I have spent a career investigating causes of death, and you're going to make me look like a fool to put something like that on my own mother's cause of death.
Uh-huh.
They said, we can't do that. It's already been submitted on, the document is submitted to Harrisburg.
Wow.
I said, that's too damn bad. You need to change it. Well, they were sufficiently intimidated that they did change it. And they changed it to failure to thrive.
Failure to what?
Thrive.
Failure to thrive? Okay.
You can't argue with that about anybody's death.
I mean, that's pretty.
And I don't think that's in the IOC list.
So is it called IOC as the list? Was it what I?
Well, no, it's not. I'm trying to think of the abbreviation. It's the International ICD. I think it is. Look up ICD.
ICD?
Yeah.
Because it's
ICD 10. Yeah, there it is. There it is.
ICD? Okay. International Statistical Classification.
Yeah, number 11 is being worked on right now.
Okay, the version 11 of the whole thing. They have 17,000 categories, 80,000 concepts, and 120,000 terms.
Yes. And none of them say old age or common causes.
So you're saying one of these classifications has to be chosen.
Yes,
right?
It's a law. It's a law.
Yeah.
Every state department that manufactures death certificates needs to know the number.
Right. But what would you advance as the appropriate new approach? Like, what would you?
Advance would be if anybody dies below, certainly above the age of 65.
Okay.
You put on the death certificate, I don't know.
I don't know. Okay. Well, they'll never go for that.
Of course not, but it's the truth.
Okay. You're saying this is an unknowable area absent.
Even if somebody gets hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Were they killed by the bus? Or were they killed by their lack of attention to the traffic?
Yeah.
Or because they stumbled? There are a whole vast array of possibilities, even when you get killed allegedly by being run over by a truck, a car, or a bus.
But I'm just bringing up the little sidebar here. It looks like they listed as like A00.
Correct. Those are the numbers. Those are the numbers you have to put down.
And then it goes to B for viral infections.
Yeah, yes.
And then it goes to C for.
They thought of everything except the right ones.
Yeah, interesting. So there's probably thousands.
Did you know about this?
No, you mentioned it before. You said to me once before that we don't really have the foggiest idea of the etiology.
It's not. No.
And that we will never really get the correct data because it's kind of a guess. But people put whatever they put down as a convenience more than anything else. But then that convenience drives the aggregation of data. And that
it drives funding decisions.
Right. And those funding
and political thinking and thoughts and a whole bunch of other things.
Right.
Decision making, vast amounts of decision making.
Well, there's a lot of money, certainly in the Alzheimer's business, right? I mean, there's certainly a lot of money.
Of course.
And you're saying it's a very small, relatively small problem relative to everything else that's happening in the world, right?
More than so much money was spent on Alzheimer's disease by the government, who were bombarded with pressure by the National Institute on Aging and by the Alzheimer's Disease Association and by Alzheimer's patients or caregivers, that they spun off the amount of money sent to the NIA for that purpose because it was so big. It was bigger than half the total budget. They spun it off to a separate section now under the head of the NIA, but it's a separate budget that is now funded out of sight.
Right. I have to say, when you look at this list, it even covers external causes. So they have a whole section about accidents, about intentional.
But under each of those headings, there are multiple more headings.
Right, right. Intentional self-harm by jumping off a cliff, intentional self-harm by crashing your car, assault by drugs, assault by
A
pesticides.
sharp object and a blunt object,
Blunt
two different causes of death.
Right, exactly. And then they,
But nowhere, you will not find anywhere on here old age. You
yeah.
won't find old age, or you won't find natural causes.
So wait, Len.
There.
Yeah, so Len, this actually fits in with something you said very early, which is, look, your research demonstrated that we can't live forever. Period, full stop. That's impossible. It's the law of physics. So why don't you have a section that says the law of physics played out? That would be a
They
section.
would not. These are statisticians who put this together. I
Right.
don't know of any colleague who's ever been consulted by them.
Right. So I'm saying to you, Len, I'm solving your problem for a category. I'm calling it category ZZ or ZZZ for like sleep, you know? Basically, the laws of physics played out in the
All
opposite.
right, let me see how far you get with that.
Well, you follow what I'm saying?
Of course I do.
Your argument is that entropy plays its role in the unstructuring of structure over time, whether it's rusting of a car or it's, fading of leather or whatever it is. There's entropy that's breaking down things, and that's just called the laws of physics are operating in the natural way that the laws of physics operate, right?
It's increasing thermodynamic disorder.
Right. So you could make that a cause. You could add it to this list.
Do you think they would accept it?
Well, it's not a fundable cause. It's not something, unless you're Aubrey de Grey and you're arguing that you can reverse aging and that he expects, by the way, he looks really old for a guy that's supposedly still in his 50s. I thought when I met him, I thought he was like in his 80s. He's got this ginormous gray beard. I'm sure he's going to call me and say, withdraw that remark. But frankly, Aubrey, I thought you were like going on my mother's age at the time. But he was thin. I'll give him credit. He's kept his physique, but he's got this like 6-foot beard that's totally gray. That when you look at him, you say, this guy's talking about healthy aging or non-aging or reversal of aging. Well, he doesn't look like the body specimen of that at all.
He has no history. He has no history of contributions or interest in the field of aging until he first asked to meet me at my apartment in London when I was there for some purpose that I don't now remember.
Mm-hmm.
And he numbered me in that group of idiots who think that aging is a certainty.
Yeah.
He at that time was at Cambridge University.
Right.
Or was it Oxford? I think it was Cambridge. He was in charge of the data and statistics for a large data bank of information, I think, about Drosophila, fruit fly.
Right.
And during the early couple of years that I knew him, I got a letter from the chairman of the department at Cambridge saying, we understand you're a friend or Aubrey de Grey. He is up now for a title higher, the next higher step above his present title, which is, it wasn't professor and it wasn't assistant professor, there was nothing in the professorial line.
Right.
And I wrote back and I said, I love him dearly. He's a wonderful, interesting character,
provocateur.
and his experience in the field of aging is, to the best of my knowledge, nil. Yet he professes to wanting to, quote, cure it.
Right.
And I just didn't sign my name. I didn't say anything that was false
No,
or nasty. I said the truth.
the truth shall set you.
And he ultimately was discharged from Cambridge.
Really? Well, I don't.
And he came to this country and he met the developer of, you may know the person, I don't, the founder of PayPal,
Right. Yep. Yep.
who was by then a multi-gazillionaire,
Yeah. Peter Thiel. Yeah.
Peter Thiel.
Yep.
And Peter and others of his ilk, as has happened throughout human history, when you reach a state of power and prestige and money,
Well.
you then want to solve aging.
Right.
And Peter Thiel funded Aubrey, who is a charmer,
Right. Right.
in his present occupation as head of this research organization in Mountain View.
Right.
I think it's in Mountain View or Menlo Park. That has been focused, it's called SENS, SENS,
Right.
which I have renamed Nonsense, because he's chosen arbitrarily 5 or 6 biological pathways that he, Aubrey de Grey, says, if they can be corrected or reversed, will reverse aging or stop aging.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Well, who is Aubrey de Grey to choose these 6 biological pathways? And what in the hell do only 6 have to do with aging?
Right. This is actually.
Everything has to do with aging. You could pick one or you could pick a million paths, and they all have something to do with aging, because all of the pathways are composed of molecules that all fall because of the second law.
I mean, this is not a bad picture of him because he actually doesn't have all the gray.
Yeah, well, I've known him for 40 years now.
This is more of what he looks like today, but with a lot more gray.
And he won't invite me to any of his conferences. He has money for conferences from Peter Thiel in
Right.
England and Germany. He doesn't invite me ever to any one of them, although we're friendly, because he knows that I know the truth.
Yeah, you tell it like it is, right? Exactly. And
anyhow, I don't know how we got on that subject, but
here it is. He's got a book that's called How to Live Forever, episode number 133. I guess it's a podcast.
Yeah, he's been on so many podcasts you can't count them, and so many interviews worldwide you couldn't count those either. He's been more of a disaster for this field than any single person.
Well, he wants to believe that if there's enough research thrown at this is more what he looks like with his gray hair, but I saw him, the beard looked almost white. And he's got to be doing that for almost a reason, right? He's probably
a good
guy.
Whenever I see him, I say, Aubrey, when are you going to climb out from under all that brushwork?
Right. And I don't get what that's all about. There's got to
be. He knows I'm the only one that can say that to him without him being offended.
Yeah, there is some statement there, right? There is some sort of statement.
That's part of the image.
Yeah, it is. It's sort of like a caricature. It's sort of like creating a caricature.
It's like the mustache born by Adolf Hitler.
Right.
And the hair over his eye.
it's pretty funny in a way. But yeah, there you go. This is more of what, when I met him, what he looked like, but it was even more gray than that. I don't know what year this is. I guess he was on Joe Rogan's show, like a big deal.
He is to the field of aging as Donald Trump is to the Republican Party.
Wow.
They're analogous. They're perfect analogies.
Well, now you can't use the Trump name. You have to use the acronym TFG. TFG means the former guy.
No, I was called Trumpican. He's
Trumpican. Yeah. Yeah, that's like the new hashtag is TFG, #TFG. I thought this was interesting, and I think we've actually covered it. There's a lot to be said for trying to put some bright light on aging well and what that means. And people are starting to recognize that it shouldn't mean, although for a lot of people it is, how do you not age? More people, I think, are starting to recognize the laws of physics will play out as they do, inevitably. And someone that was really beautiful, and I often show the picture of my mom some, 70 years ago on her 1951 wedding day, compared to the picture of her today, very beautiful young woman, 20 years old, getting married and staying married for 70, well, less than 70, but it would have been 70 years had my dad made it to 95, which obviously he didn't. He made it to 90. And then what happens over time, but there is a definition I wanted to point out to you saying other ill-defined and unspecified causes of mortality. It's R99 under the heading R95 to 99, ill-defined and unknown causes of mortality. So there is kind of a section, unknown.
So that's new, and physicians are afraid to use that kind of designation because it is an admission of ignorance.
Well, look at what they have. R98 is death in circumstances where the body of the deceased was found and no cause could be discovered, found dead. And then 99, death NOS, unknown cause of mortality. NOS must
I don't see that at the top.
In the middle, death, like right here, death NOS, right? NOS must be the acronym for what? No obvious symptom or something like that?
I don't know.
It must be a special acronym.
Unknown cause of mortality.
Yeah, unknown cause. That's your point.
But this has just appeared in the past few months.
See, you caused it, Len.
But I doubt it's ever going to be used.
Well, but your point is it's most of the cases, right? It's in fact
it's all of the cases.
It's all the cases. All the cases over. I thought you were going to say all the cases over 85, but you said all the cases over.
All of the cases over some arbitrary age.
Right.
And I don't know what that would be. Over 65 probably, or 70.
Right.
Autopsies are not done.
Right.
How do you know the cause?
Right.
When your mother probably has multiple pathologies.
Right. Correct.
Most people our age. When we die, what is the cause? Which one are you going to pick?
Exactly.
And why?
Right. And you could say the COVID-19 to some degree probably will amplify as the category this whole.
Well, that has been commented upon. Causes of death attributed to COVID-19 probably include many deaths of other causes, possible viral causes, or other pathogenic, either microorganisms or organ deaths.
Right. So I want to end by showing you the point that I was making. So here's my mom some 70 years ago I'll just put it up on the screen.
Well, I have a picture hanging up here of me and my wife Ruth when we got married, and to look at us when, yes, of course, she's a beautiful lady.
Right. Very beautiful, very young, very pretty skin, all of her hair.
Of course. Well, she's not unusual in being a very beautiful person to an old person.
Right. Right.
The trouble is, human that in developed countries, and mostly developed countries, we value youth and beauty of youth more than we value old age looks.
Right. And here's my dad. Here's my dad. Here's my dad, who at the time was 5 years older.
Yeah, he's a handsome guy.
25 years old, all of his hair, great haircut, clean shaven.
He looks like a movie actor.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was saying he could be like someone that's in Hollywood. He's got the white bow tie on for his wedding day in April of 1951.
Well, I could show you the same pictures, and you could show me pictures of yourself at that age,
right?
And Lee at that age, and me at that age, and Ruth at that age, and they'll all be beautiful people.
Right, and then you get to this, and this is what I'll end with. Then you get to this, and you know where it's coming, but this is like the end of life. You're in a hospital bed.
There's nothing unique about that.
You're keeled over. Now you have a mask on.
Is this your mother?
This is my mom in her last trip to the hospital a few weeks ago, right? Or a while ago. Exactly. So, you know, what happens is the laws of physics play out over time and cause this beautiful embodiment, I guess that's the right word, the beautiful embodiment of a system, you know, a biological system, to more or less break down over time to something that is not even remotely identifiable.
Well, the points are two. First of all, living to the ages in which we see this kind of deterioration is strictly confined to humans and to the animals we choose to protect. It was never intended for the people whose figures you are showing. It was never intended for us to live beyond the age of about 40. In fact, archaeologists have never found a skeleton older than about the age of 50 or 55. They don't exist. That's a new finding. It's a new development because of our alleged successes in avoiding predation, disease, and accidents that occur more often after the age of reproductive success. So this is a situation brought on to human civilization by ourselves. If you believe in some deity, it was never intended for us to see this. We just became too smart in solving causes of death that kill all other animals before they reveal old age.
Right. So that's probably the picture that I was really looking for, that does the comparison, 70 years of the laws of physics playing its role over time in a way that Aubrey de Grey, I think, is actually not aging very well. Personally, I think if you actually lined up a series of pictures, he would be like Exhibit A against his own case.
Well, he's no different than any other human being in respect to gaining the physiology and appearance of being an old person.
Right.
There's no exception to what you and I will experience or are experiencing.
Right. They say he was born April 20 of 1963, which would make him less than 60. But I have to tell you, I think he looks a lot older. Personally, I think he looks way, way older than that, because that's suggesting he's like 50, 58 or something, that he was just 58. Len, thank you for your time tonight. I think it's been very pleasurable and very enjoyable, and I've learned a lot of things as a result. So
thank you, Jack. I appreciate it. And I
want you to forward me that email so I could see if there's a link, because there should be a link to the Kindle.
I'll send it to you.
And we'll see if we can get it to work for you, because it may change your way of buying books to a more digital approach. Not that I recommend that, but it is a faster way to get information, that's for sure.
I'm making a note to do that.
Okay. Well, you take care of yourself, and we'll get
You too, Ari, and you're still staying on the west coast of Florida. Did you suffer any damage from the?
No, it's all been good weather recently. It's all been sunshine and great weather. There was obviously it's a rainy season that's here.
But you didn't have any effect from the storm.
No, it all worked out. Congratulations on getting that big award from that society.
Okay.
That's a big deal. Seriously.
Okay, I'll send you a picture of it, whatever it is when it arrives.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye.
Take care.
Tune in next time on The Valley Current.